I hope life has been extremely kind to you, but I know someday you are going to experience something super painful. You might lose a loved one. You might have a career change. You might experience an injury. Those are going to be some painful moments. I hope that someday you realize it's something that you can't avoid. And I also hope you realize that you'll actually get stronger from each and every one of them. For me, it took a long time for me to understand pain. But as I get older and older, I'm starting to realize that I have systems around pain. And I'm learning that pain is something that's experienced by a lot of people. And today I get to share this conversation with someone that I deeply respect. And really quick, John, this is like, I didn't even talk about this, but I think training you has healed a lot of things around my own father, primarily because he's a winaholic, extremely manly and like in many, many ways. And seeing you go through some of this stuff, like, holy smokes, I get emotional about it because I'm like, dang, my dad kind of did the same thing. And guys, John is an entrepreneur. He's a father too as well. These lessons that we're going to be diving into will mean a lot to them as well. John, welcome, man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Appreciate having me.
Let's go into chapter 1, because I think there are a lot of men just in general that have a lot of problem with this. Not everyone, but really the concept around pain. Why do you think so many people struggle with it?
You know, I think it goes back to, like primitive times, right? Like I always think about like, man and cavemen and their lives, what they're responsible for protecting, right?
Yeah.
Providing and all those things. And that became like a badge of honor, I think, as humanity evolved, right? And so from that perspective, it was always something that just kind of came with the territory, part of job description, right? And so over time, I think one of the most interesting things about pain to me today, as I sit here, having learned through experience and watching others and everything, is that pain is really complex.
Yeah.
And whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, it is such a complex thing that a lot of times it can be overwhelming, and that's why there's so many different ways that people react to it.
Yeah, and I think about like it's ice cream flavors. You think there's only like vanilla pain. No, there's so many different ones, and I think learning how to navigate each one is a journey that Lucas and Rory will have to partake in, and I want to give them a head start on like knowing which ones to carry, which ones to hide, and which ones to share more specifically. But I agree, a lot of men just in general, I think, are, at least for me early on in my career, I thought pain was a weakness, and showing that it was prevalent was a sign of like, you're not a man, and to be quite honest, it actually propelled my career early on. I think especially in business, you have to hide some of your financial pains and those moments when you're not sleeping, when you're having these firefights all the time. But at some point, it kind of just like, it just destroys you. And that's why I really want to talk about this component, because in some ways I think I hit it too long and it just crippled me.
Yeah, that's something I think a lot of men go through, right?
Yeah.
Like the word weakness has just such negative connotation to it. And the thing about weakness is you can learn through weakness, right? And I think one thing that we hope our kids can take from this is the ability to find positive in what is considered negative things and negative situations. And weakness is a negative word, but weakness allows you to learn and figure out how to overcome. And part of that is relying on others and using the power of community to be able to overcome and fight through these things, where a lot of the pride, and you mentioned like, when you were younger, and I always think about that for me, like a lot of the pride came from the individuality of it.
Yeah.
And whether suppressing it or figuring out a way to overcome it, battling through it, whatever it may be, the badge of honor for me was I did it on my own. And as I sit here today, 48 years old, I don't look at it the same way. I don't feel like that's something that I have to be proud of. There are situations that I still battle through alone.
Yeah.
But I love the way it feels to have people in my inner circle kind of stand shoulder to shoulder and get through things together, because there's so many things that people, different experiences, right? And situations that if you want to learn, and that's a big focus for me at this point in my life is embracing learning. This is such an area that it could be so helpful.
That's so good. You're going right into my second question, because it looks like your relationship with pain changed. And what age did that change? I feel like it's always different. For me, it's really changed after 30 for me. Meaning like, I'm going to go ahead and kind of share my pain with other men. I didn't actually talk to other men for a long time, to be quite honest, until later. And I'm like, wait, they're doing the same thing that I'm doing. So when did that change for you?
I even think I was probably a later bloomer than you.
Right? Oh, really?
And so I think some of that stems from just kind of, again, it was pride. It was pride for me. I was proud to be the person that was strong and looked at that way. And again, sometimes a negative, right? You could come across intimidating. I'm just a thoughtful person, right? I am an intense person, but I keep a lot of it inside me. So I'm not maybe the most social or outgoing, but I'm a quality over quantity guy. So I like meaningful interactions and relationships. So I think for me, it was a little bit later when I started to branch out from how I kind of always did things. I had a coach early on in my career who taught me so many lessons, but one of them that was still applicable, just like a game changer for me. He would say to me, "How's that working out for you?" Yeah. And I would go, "Man, it maybe doesn't feel great."
It stings, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so now I try to be more open-minded. I try to share things and learn and battle through, because it feels better. So when I ask myself that question now on my own, in my own head, how's that working out for you? Typically, it's working out a lot better for me.
Yeah, that's so funny. Now when you're making that decision, it's funny because when you apply that context, yours was more around like you take massive action. You're going to deal with the fire right away. When I ask myself that question, it's because I'm so passive. I let people just kind of, I don't make the decision. So I'm too nice. Yeah. And if you ask me that question, now I'm like, no, it's not working out that well. There has to be a certain balance to it where you do take action. You do take a little bit of an aggression. That's why I really like training with you, because it's the opposite of me. Yeah. And I think there's a combo. I think I thrive better when I have that person that's different than me, because I borrow some of those aspects and I can also see the backlashes of it. And you kind of create this a more balanced approach to my decision making now.
Totally. I mean, I think we can all be guilty a little bit of like drinking our own Kool-Aid. Yeah. Right. And so one of the great things about Josh, I mean, you and I have been training now almost 2 years together, and you're right. It's like a yin yang thing, right? Yeah. With like the way we approach stuff, but it's a pretty complete perspective regardless of what we're talking about, because we view it through different lenses. And so the power of it collectively is pretty intense. Yeah. And it's no different than like a marriage, right? Like my wife and I look at things differently, and I really value her perspective because it's a total different perspective than mine. And so, I think about something Josh says, you brought him up earlier, but he's like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Right. And this is one of those instances where it holds true, right? It's like you have a different perspective and different experiences on your processing pain yourself, helping others process pain. My experiences are different than that. And so most recently, when I had the intense physical pain of blowing my knee out, right, playing soccer, doing something I love, I had this incredible pain that I've never experienced before. I never had a serious injury. I've been playing soccer since I was 10 years old.
That's what blew my mind when I was first introduced, I was like, how did you not have any injuries in getting at that high level? Because one of my basic principles and theologies was, you show me an elite athlete, I'll show you someone that has a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And then you came in, you're like, I never had an injury. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's not possible. How is that up? The other side, the other theory to me was you were handling so much pain that you didn't let some of these minor injuries kind of hold in.
Yeah, very, very, very possible, right? I was
Right.
just kind of fighting through things and figuring it out and trying to. I was just a big like, you got to be on the field, right? Like no
Yeah.
matter what, spit on it, rub some dirt on it, and get back out there and keep playing. And you can deal with it when the game's over and you have that opportunity to recover. But honestly, I was just blessed with the ability to play an intense sport like soccer,
Yeah.
and battle and lay it out there. And I would leave the field with my tank on empty,
Yeah.
and then figure out a way to recover, get myself back out there in
Yeah.
time for the next one. But it was an interesting process, this injury. I mean, it was 5 weeks ago yesterday. And so the initial part of it tapped into that complexity, because I remember sitting on the sideline. You guys were still playing. There was 4 minutes left in the game.
You came
And
back in.
the emotional side of it was dawning on me, because the physical pain was so bad.
Right.
Right. And so the game ends. I have you on one side, Mike on the other. You guys are basically carrying me to my car because I can't put any weight on it. Right. And so what does that symbolize? It symbolizes you have to have trust in your community, and you have to understand that you can't do everything yourself.
This is such a huge metaphor. Like, at least it's funny you say that, because I had a coach kind of in that 30 range. And one of the things he applied, and he's really good at metaphors, because I'm in the weight training world, in the fitness world. He's like, imagine you have a gym, but then you don't let anybody lift the weights. And I was like, well, no one's going to get strong. He's like, that's your team.
Yeah.
Because you don't let them in around your pain, you rob them from them growing themselves. And then once he told me that, I was like, all right, who's able to burden this weight? And immediately it was like my wife first, and then a few of my close buddies. But then I also made mistakes where I shared too much, and it just crushed my teammate, right? Like, you could just tell it was too much weight on the barbell for them. So it took me a long time to really see that. You run a team. Do you do the same thing? Do you like, I'm just going to give all my weight to this guy? Or do you pick and choose which one can handle the burden?
I use the baseball metaphor a lot. Like, everybody has a position on the diamond, right? And you have to play your position. And so one thing that I've always really tried to do, regardless of, whether it's an athletic team or whether it's in the corporate environment, is I do try to filter.
Okay.
Right? I try to judge, like, hey, what do I think this person can withstand?
Yeah.
What can they deal with? Right. And what is probably best not exposing them to. Right.
Okay.
And so that's always a judgment call. I'm like a gut guy. I try to say, hey, I have a good feel for this. I kind of, street sense, whatever you want to call it. I feel like I'm pretty solid when it comes to analyzing that. But to your point, you can't protect everybody from everything.
100%.
And this is something that's really hard with my boys.
Yeah.
Right. And what this is like when you are on the sideline and they are playing a sport, whether it's, basketball, soccer, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're kind of just at the mercy of what's happening. And there's no greater feeling of helplessness in a situation where you want nothing more than to help them.
Yeah.
Right. But they have to go through that process by themselves. And you can be there when they're done. You're there supporting them.
Yeah.
Right. You're encouraging them. You're trying to help them learn and teach afterwards. But when they're out there between the lines, it's on them to go through that part of the journey. And you help prepare them, but they have to do it. And so same situation in the office, right? Like, you have these folks who you can't deprive them of that. You have to give them the opportunity to overcome things, to process things, to learn. And again, what I feel like when it comes to leadership is you want to support, you want to encourage.
Yeah.
I try to really go out of my way. Decision making is something that a lot of people shy away from. They're uncomfortable, and you say, well, why, right? Why are they uncomfortable making decisions? It's because they're afraid to make a mistake.
Mm.
It's a form of pain, right?
Yeah.
If they make a mistake, they feel like whether they're going to be embarrassed or exposed, it's a feeling of pain that they don't want to encounter. So sometimes they'll be paralyzed by that.
Right.
But what I try to say to folks is, hey, we have information. We are going to make decisions, okay?
Right.
And one of two things is going to happen. The decision is going to be right, and we're going to look back on it and go, we made the right decision, great, or it's going to be wrong. And the only thing I ask, if it's the wrong decision, is let's learn from it. And next time when we're in that situation, let's make a different decision. There's no need to be paralyzed.
Yeah. Does your boys, and do you have that conversation with Mason and Max now?
I think one thing that we really try to do when it comes to life and sports is, and Julia, my wife, is the leader of this in the house, but we try to talk through things with them, and we try to give them the opportunity to reflect on what happened and figure out, is there something we would have wanted to do differently, or is it something that, hey, that was the right decision? And again, there's so much of it that's complex, right? If maybe something happens on the playground, right, that makes them feel uncomfortable. And they know that was painful. They didn't like that experience. And we say, okay, well, maybe we could have redirected and done something else. Maybe it led to a confrontation that was avoidable.
Yeah.
Right. And so we try to teach them not to just be in the weeds on what the exact interaction was that led to that pain, but we try to say to them, hey, how could you have been maybe a bit more aware? Maybe you get out of that environment before the opportunity for it to be painful. Or maybe we try to give them, and this is a huge piece for me, especially lately. And again, I know I said it, like being a late bloomer.
Yeah.
I feel like that's appropriate for me, but the blooming that's happening is powerful. And so I try to say to myself, hey, what was that other person's perspective?
So
right?
good.
Step back.
Yeah.
Look at it through their lens. It made you feel bad, right? And it wasn't a great experience, but what were they going through there? And so that kind of can help you understand who you're dealing with, and maybe the next time you're in a situation that interaction becomes more productive and more positive.
Yeah.
Less painful.
That's a great way to kind of reframe losses. I feel like the game that they were in right now, those other kids were so ecstatic that they had that many points on us.
Yeah.
Right? I probably should have used that. I'm going to use that on the next one. So on the pain, like the distributing pain, you have two boys, two different personalities. Where's you're getting the inside play on how you're handling. Who do you burden more, and who do you take less initially at first? Or is it equal? Is there like a framework early on?
No, I think it's really different. And when you have kids, like, it's so funny, right? You're already experiencing this at such a young age with Rory, to see the personality, the behaviors are very different than Lucas. And our household is the same. Mason is super thoughtful, very analytical. He wants information on everything. He's always investigating. He wants to be prepared.
Right.
He wants to know, what is the environment going to be like? And the reality is, when he's going through that, he's actually searching to find out, or is there any potential pain points here for me?
Wow.
That's really what he's digging for.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be comfortable. He wants to be confident.
Yeah.
But he's trying to identify, are there any holes here that's going to lead to unknown or painful situations, because he's trying to protect himself and prepare himself to battle through that.
So
right?
Good. Yeah.
Max is different. Max looks at every situation with a smile on his face and an opportunity. I always say, if Max walked into a room with 500 people, he sees 500 potential new friends. Mason walks into a room with 500 people, he goes, wait a second, I don't know anyone in here.
Right.
I'm not sure about these folks, right? I'm not willing to say these people all have the potential to be my friend or not. So genetically, personality-wise, Mason is more like me.
Yeah.
I think that's a result of growing up in New York and just the type of environment that was. Max is much more like Julia. He is more optimistic and happy. And so it's sometimes easier for Max to get over pain because of that.
Yeah.
because
It's
he
so
can look to the
interesting.
next positive thing,
Yeah.
whatever it may be,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas Mason sometimes, and I was guilty of this for a long time and still can be,
Yeah.
I can hold on to something a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I don't like that way that it feels, and I'm disappointed
Yeah.
that I'm feeling that way, right? So it's really nice to have such different
Yeah.
personalities for them.
Yeah. Looking outside in as a spectator, the advantage of the pain-free Max is you're just joyful the whole time.
Yeah.
Mason, on the other hand, he does experience a lot of pain. However, I think he's extremely talented for his age early on. The disadvantage is you never see that.
Yeah.
You'll never see that because you're just so analytical and you're changing things. And guys, if you watch Mason, one, he's an amazing basketball player, but I also think he's an amazing soccer player too for not playing that much,
Yeah.
right? And primarily because his brain is moving so quickly. And it's interesting. What if you can combine both?
Yeah.
I don't think it quite works that way, but if you can do that, that would be something pretty special.
But you want to know something, Royce? I actually this past weekend,
Yeah.
before Mason had a basketball tournament, right?
Yeah.
And he's been getting a little bit. He's been a little bit anxious before
Yeah.
games recently, which is interesting in itself because he's one of the leaders on his team,
Yeah.
one of the best players, one of the most prepared.
Mhm.
And if he just goes out and plays, he's going to have a positive contribution on the game and his team
Yeah.
and the outcome. But the one thing I said to him as we were walking out the door was, I said, hey, think about how Max would feel right now.
Wow.
Right? And he kind of looked at me and I was like, think about how excited he would be right now, how happy he would be to go and play in a game, regardless of what gym it's at or what team he's playing against or any of those other factors that are in play here. And so I do occasionally try to tap into each other
Wow.
and say, hey, think about your brother's perspective here because it's probably different than yours, and it's probably something that could really help as we're going through this, whatever this may be at the time.
Right. Yeah. And as you're seeing that channel through. So do you channel a little bit of Mason to Max in some way?
Always, because Mason's attention to detail and his commitment and ability to focus, and there's so many positive things that are the things that prepare him to go into battle for whether it's playing a sport or taking a test or whatever is going on. And so from that side of the equation, we'll say to Max, like he knows the bar is set high, right? He has a big brother who achieves a lot at a high level, but he aspires to that too. And that's where it's laying the groundwork for Max to know, hey, this is what success looks like, right? And so he does it in a more joyous way than Mason does. So they both kind of take their own journey to get there, but Max gets to excellence on the sports field because he knows the bar is set there from Mason. So he appreciates the work that Mason puts in, and he wants to mimic that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something that Lucas did. I don't know if you saw him at the very end of the game, but he got angry. And normally, old me would just be like, no anger in the house. And he wanted to keep practicing because he was so mad of that loss. And we just kept on playing, and we kept on playing. And why I didn't blunt it quickly, because you run on that. And it's a very, there's some really good players that run on it. And I was like, okay, let's run on it. Learn how to use it. So I was like, how does it feel? How does it feel? Now, on defense, he does really well on anger. He'll steal the ball. And I was like, now you got to turn it back off or dwindle it down. Go back to your joyous state. And at the end of it, he was like, Dad, that was the best practice I've had. And we didn't talk about tactics. We talked about running on the emotion, and it's okay to run on the emotion, but you got to learn how to navigate this energy because you know how to run this energy. So really quick, if you're speaking to Lucas, because it looks like he might have that state, how would you manage? I guess it is a pain of anger, right? Because it is pretty painful to hold that for a little. It feels good, but it's very expensive. If you were going to give him the tips on how to run on this, what would the tips be?
How powerful to be, that age and already tap into something that I think is huge here, which is awareness,
Right.
right? That's the first piece. Go back to what the coach said to me. How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Right? That's what he was getting at.
Yeah.
He's like, you're aware of how you feel after that went down. And so what he was trying to say is, you get signals from yourself. You can feel your blood pressure rising, right?
Right.
Your competitive fire going, whatever happens to drive you. For me, the anger is a huge piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, what makes you angry? I don't like losing,
Right.
right? Lucas shares that.
Yeah.
He's got an incredible competitive spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say to people all the time, the anger, the pain that came from losing drove me more than the joy of winning,
Yeah.
right? Winning, I expect to win when
Right.
I do something, whether it's a deal at work or,
It's almost a net neutral for you.
yeah, I like, well, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen, right? Instead of celebrating it. But Lucas just being aware of it, that now you can act on it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the huge piece of this is like, I used to, very early in my career, I was so intent on being right,
Mm-hmm.
right? In any conversation, I want to know the most. I want to make sure that I'm credible,
Yeah.
right? And that means I have to be right about everything. And so that's where you can get into behaviors that people don't react to well. Slamming your fist on the desk,
Right.
yelling at somebody on the field.
Right.
These are your teammates,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, is that going to get the best out of them?
Yeah.
And so what I would say to Lucas is what I was taught is, hey, as you feel that happening, you feel your blood pressure rising, right? These different reactions that your body's giving you. Feel yourself getting mad, upset. Trust that. That's your body telling you,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And so
state.
use it. That's information.
Mm-hmm.
And so what can you do? Well, you can say to yourself, hey, I feel what's happening, and I am not going to have an outburst
Mm-hmm.
that's going to derail my teammate who I need, right? Soccer's a team sport. Basketball's a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you can't play 1-on-5 on a basketball court. You're not going to win many games,
Yeah.
right? So I need to know who am I dealing with? What's going to motivate them? What are they going to react well to so that we can get the outcome we're looking for, which is some form of victory, right? It could be winning the next 2 minutes of the game. It could be scoring the next goal.
Right.
It could be making a great pass,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's where you get into acting on what you're now aware of. And I think that that's a really, really important way to process things.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to just like completely blunt it because I thought it was very useful. When he runs on anger, he doesn't get tired. And in fact, he actually plays more physical, which is unlike him when he's in his joyous state. He's a little bit more passive on the tackles. So I was like, wait, I don't want to completely shut it down. That's the defense I want him to play. Can he do both? Can he turn it on and off,
Sure.
right? And yeah, like because my way is joy. I just run on joy. And I've ran on anger too, but it's like it's an expensive fuel for me. So I'm like, maybe my fuel isn't all of that just yet. Maybe Rory might run on that.
Yeah.
But Lucas is on a different plane. He's an anomaly to me. That's why I think it's also really exciting for me to see the different personalities. He actually has more of my dad's personality, which is really, really ironic to me. So, because Tara and I are chill. She says she's partly competitive. I was like, no, you're really nice. Right? Okay, so let's go into chapter 2 because we got deep onto that chapter. We were kind of briefly talking about it, like when should we carry it? When should we protect them from it? When should we hide it? When should we share it? I think this is going to be a massive topic around what I really want them to really understand.
Yeah.
So
my advice, sitting here today, learning what I've learned, battling independently, right, for probably too long.
Yeah.
The more you can share, the better.
Interesting.
And I know that that's like in 2026, maybe that's a circumstance of culture shift and society being a little bit softer and all the things that come with that. However, I think it's a really good thing. And I don't think I'll ever get, if you look at 100% of the pain points, how much of it, do you deal with independently? All I'm saying is the scale is sliding towards less and less.
Right.
There are still things that fall in those categories, but understanding you have people that love you and want to help you,
Yeah.
that is going to be the greatest tool that you can use to battle through, again, either a physical injury,
Yeah.
right, or the emotional side. And I can tell you, the physical injury, again, 5 weeks ago, it's been a journey,
Yeah.
right? And I look at that and I say, mentally, it's been taxing at some times. You can't do, I can't do simple things
Right.
that I always took for granted that I was able to do, right? I couldn't get up and sprint right now,
Right.
right? I'm closer today than I was
Yeah.
a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And that's what I'm trying to tap into. But you are somebody who, day in, day out, when we're doing the rehab, you're helping me celebrate what I'm not valuing enough.
Right.
Different milestones as the victories that they are.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's something to be aware of. It's not a participation trophy.
Yeah.
It's, hey, you gotta walk before you can jog. You gotta jog before you can run. And we'll get back to running.
Yeah.
Just let it play out, do the work, overcome the pain. And so my point is, when you're looking at something like that on the injury front,
Yeah.
and you're down about it, it's typically when I'm alone about it and kind of by myself, or maybe it hurts, right?
Yeah.
I'm tired. It's not happening fast enough. It's all those things. But when you surround yourself with people that are helping you overcome it, and obviously you have an integral part of that, right? Because we're doing the rehab work together, but it could be somebody just picking up the phone. It could be Ron checking in. How's your knee feeling?
Yeah.
You're almost there, right?
That's the share it component to you.
Definitely. That stuff, it doesn't go unnoticed to me anymore.
Because I think you did all 4 of those things the moment you got injured. And for most people with that type of injury, what you experienced, they would have just called the ER. Paramedics would have came in. They would have got you on a stretcher. But you did something that was different. You were like, no, I'm good. I'm going to try to walk this out. So you hid that pain for a particular reason. Why not just like, I'm just going to call it in, let's call the ER, and then let's pick us up? Because you actually tried to walk by yourself.
Yeah. It's because we're people of action, right? And so before I came in here, one of the things that I would really struggle with, I had my own workout program, my personal program that I was responsible for, right? And so there were things that I did. I ran on the treadmill. I rode the Peloton bike. I saunaed. I lifted weights. And so when something would happen, for a scheduling conflict, late night out the night before, whatever it may be, that got me off that schedule, what I would struggle with is the one day off of missing that session, whatever the workout looked like, had a tendency to be able to turn into 2 days, and 2 days turned into a week, and a week turned into 2 weeks of inactivity, right? And then I would get to the point that the pain was so much, I felt so badly about myself, that then I would act. Oh, I'm going to do 2 a days from here on, and it's just a life of extremes, right? Which is not it's not sustainable. So in this instance, it was a situation where, right from the get-go, rehab started, Royce, if you think about it, on the sideline of the field by standing up and saying, we're going to walk out of here, right? And we're going to look at what the options are, figure out a treatment plan, and then get started on the road to recovery.
Yeah, you presented that really quickly for your kids. And that's what I mean by, there are moments in my life where I have to hide and burden the pain, primarily because I think them seeing that I can go through that level of pain, that they'll have the courage to at least attempt it, right? And I think if I went to a firefight with someone, I don't necessarily want them to just be like, here's all my pain, I'm too scared. I gotta have somebody there to be like, he's in this with me. I think there's a level of that that I need to see from someone, not the whole time. It was awesome to see that, because I knew going into rehab that you're going to be strong. And then at some point you're like, I actually can't even walk, guys. I actually needed help. I would rather actually you attempt it first and then call for help, instead of call for help first and then attempt later, right? That small incident of action I think they don't know it quite yet, but it's going to change how they handle everything in life.
And the recovery piece, like you touched on so many important things there. So many times I feel like in our society, it's like, oh, you had this injury. Oh, you're going to have to stay off it for this amount of time. And, if the pain's there, here's pain pills or, all these different things that I am not interested in at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I believe, particularly, look, last week we rehabbed 6 days in a row. Right.
Yeah.
And there was some pain in there.
Right.
Fatigue. Right. My knee hadn't been extended and used that way in a while. But I can promise you at the end of that 6 days, it felt we had made so much progress.
Yeah.
And it's because of the action.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the activity. It's because of getting in when it's tired and figuring out a way to get more repetition and try to push it just 1 degree further, right? To get the extension where you want it and try to build the strength back slowly and all those things. So the 3 weeks leading up to it of kind of staying off, I was on a crutch and then you're kind of just hobbling around and the inactivity, it was a little bit necessary, but the soonest I could get back in and start pushing it, that's when the results started coming. 100%. And so it goes back to my point about being on the couch. Like sitting on a couch feeling bad about something isn't helping.
Exactly. And here's the main point that I'm getting out of this. When the pain is at its highest level, the work is actually double. Most of the time, I want Lucas and Rory and Max and Mason to listen to this. When they're in that pain mode, it's not about rest. It's about more work. Not necessarily like I'm not going to have you do box jumps or anything, but the mental work that's involved, the patience of work that's like celebrating the 1 inch, getting more range on that is actually the work. And if they can just listen to this and just grasp that, oh wait, I'm in pain, I got to do twice the work, then I think I did my job right. Yeah. Because in the past, what I would experience is I would do pain and then I would just avoid it. And I would actually numb it. And I would numb it through more work, which is hilarious, right? Or I would just like not pay attention to my wife and I was just like play video games or watch Netflix. At the time, I drink a little bit more, and it's like, no, the work is way more than you realize. But the upside to it, just like what you said, is holy crap, I actually feel better doing twice the work.
There's never been a situation, I've told you, I've never come here and done a session, working out, done Murph, whatever it is that we were doing on a particular day, I never left here feeling worse than when I came in, right? And that's the beauty of the process of, physical activity and what it can do for you. The same way the sun, I was talking to you today about the impact of the water, right? And the smell and sight and feeling that it can give you and how powerful that is. The other thing I always come back to with us is like one of my favorite things about us having the ability to still play soccer is our kids being there.
Yeah.
Right. And our kids watching and experiencing that with us. And, whether they're on the bench cheering us on or they're going and playing on the side, like they are seeing us do what they do.
Right.
At a much later point in life and continuing and kind of walk the walk. Right. And so one of the things about the recovery process, they're very interested in it.
Yeah.
Right. So they saw dad get hurt really bad, not be able to walk out of the facility on his own. And they see me struggle to walk up the stairs to go to bed or whatever it may be, but they try to help.
Which
right.
Is cool.
They're compassionate about it. Dad, here, you could put your hand on my shoulder here. Yeah. And that they're interested in participating and supporting.
Yeah.
So they're seeing this whole process unfold and they know we're at the point now where, hey, dad's back up at 5 a.m. He's going to see Royce.
Right.
Because it's time to put the work in. And that's how we're going to get back out. And there's going to be a time later this summer, early this fall, where dad's going to walk back on the soccer field. Right. And we're going to pick back up where we left off, hopefully with a stronger knee, better than ever, ready to go again.
I'm curious, the moment that maybe Mason has his first massive injury or Lucas has his first massive injury, how quickly are they going to get to work? And I think I'm hopeful that I think they're just gonna do it like it's normal. It's not a big question mark. I didn't really see early on when I first injured, I kind of did the same thing that you did. I just gained 15 pounds. And if I saw my parents go through rehab, then I'd be like, that's just the normal way to go. Like, yeah, I think you're setting them up for some massive advantages that not a lot of kids are seeing, because I do have a lot of friends that actually don't even play sports, and they're way younger, 20 years younger than you, and they have multiple injuries, and they're like, I'm too old, I'm 32, and you're like, you're setting your kids up for believing that as well.
And the part that I feel kind of the most proud of is that now they understand there's another element to it, right? There's one thing where it's like they'll come in here, right, if they're playing with Lucas or whatever, and they know we're working out hard, right? We're doing things that are difficult, and strength training and endurance and building everything is working towards accomplishing more, right? And being stronger and healthier. But they now know that recovery is a part of that, and overcoming a painful injury is a part of that. It doesn't stop you. Right. So to your point, I believe that their reaction, if they ever cross this bridge and encounter something, hopefully not, but if they do, their reaction is going to be the same thing. Okay, well, when do we get back in the gym? That's part of overcoming this. They're not going to hang their cleats up.
Yeah.
Right. And that is what I love.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to make this a little like pie graph. Because early on in my career, I did 100% burdened everything. And the things I didn't burden turned into hiding it, which is another form of just numbing it. Yeah. Now, I would probably say I burden about 50%, and I share probably the other 50%, which is a more even balance. Actually, I'll probably say 60-40. I don't share all of them, because there's something that feels really good when I'm able to accomplish something myself, just like what you said. What are the advantages of having 80%, 90%, 100% you burdening it? Now looking back, like how's it helped you?
It's a master motivator, right? I'm driven by being competitive, and I'm driven by having a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. I grew up in an incredible family, right? My parents still married to this day, right? My brothers, we had an awesome childhood.
Right.
But we didn't have everything. My dad worked really hard. There were times my dad would get up in the morning, he would leave for his first job, go straight to his second job, go straight to his third job. And that's what my dad did so that my mom could raise us.
It's so crazy. Yeah.
And so I always admired that. I was like, man, my dad worked so hard and he never complained, right? Just get up, go do it. That's what has to be done. And so the work ethic that still exists with my kids, right? My daughter just graduated. She has my dad's work ethic to a T.
Wow.
She gets up every day and she shows up. Right. And I say for kids that age, she's 22. Yeah. That's a rare trait nowadays. Right. And so I look at that and I think to myself, we were rich in certain areas of life. Right. But financially, we didn't have the most. Right? We had enough. We had a great childhood, great life. We did some fun things, but you would look around and there were kids that had more, right? Financially, right? They had the ability to maybe experience more things, go on vacations, live in a bigger house, material things, right? But that created a situation where I would look at stuff and go, oh, I'm driven. I want to achieve some of those things. What it represented to me growing up kind of very lower middle class was like, those were things that I aspired to get.
Right.
Right. So as a motivational tactic, having a chip on your shoulder, being competitive, those are all the things that kind of drive you to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking back and there's some really interesting things that eventually happened in my life. But early on, when I burdened that much, I can handle a lot of pain. And it got me to a point where I was self-sustainable. Like I can take care of myself. And it gave me enough energy to be like, maybe I could handle having a wife, and then you get confidence for that. And then you realize both of you guys can burden a lot of weight, that I'm like, we can handle a little bit one. We can handle a little one. So the advantage of me burdening just pain, just in general, gave me the confidence to handle more and more and more pain. Only until I realized that there was a cap. And the cap feels like burnout. Yeah. The cap feels like the things that you love the most, you start hating. That's when you know you're burdening too much. I started to realize that wealth wasn't people that burdened the most pain. They actually shared it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I noticed with you is you had a nanny, you had somebody cooking for you. I was like, wait, you employ more than me. And a symbol of wealth wasn't holding it. A symbol of wealth was sharing it and sharing your pains. It was like, I can't do all of these three things. I need someone to cook. I want to go to every single game. One thing that I admire about what you do is you are a really, really busy entrepreneur, but you still find time to go to all your kids' stuff. And I was like, the only way he's doing that is he's sharing the pain. And I think it's really special when you start to really, for me, seeing that, I was like, okay, I don't need to clean my car. Like little simple things. I might not get a nanny right away, but there's certain things that I'm like, why am I not? That's silly. Why am I'm just like burdening all of this pain, and what ends up happening is you blunt your growth.
Totally. Like I look at it like everybody's bandwidth is a plate, right?
Right.
Think about going to a buffet, right? You have a plate. You can go
Mm-hmm.
up there. Even the best buffet participants, right? Eaters, whatever you want to call them, you can only fit a certain amount of stuff on your plate,
Right.
right? And so what used to be a chip on my shoulder, competitive, what led to me feeling look how much is on my plate.
Yeah.
I had so much pride over that. It was such a motivator for me. I've actually totally shifted how I feel about that. It's not the end all be all for me. I actually would rather figure out scenarios and people to share things with. Like, look, I come in here and it's not what can I do? I am able to accomplish more because of the partnership with you, because of the work that you put in before I walk through the door, because of you encouraging me when I'm exhausted and trying to fight through one last set of something, right? Where if I was by myself, I could give up if no one was looking, or telling me, hey, you can 3 more, you got this, whatever, right? So I look at performance there. I look at performance at work, right? Everybody has financial goals and different things that they're driven off of that they have to perform for the company that they work for. What I can accomplish with Ron together is so much bigger than what I can do on my own. So that's a positive sharing, right? That responsibility, that is pain. It can be pain. Stress can be pain, right? And so I can face it and fight through it and overcome it with the right partnerships that I'm sharing it with. Having a house, we have a busy household. 3 kids in there that are young, right? We have 9, 7, 5 right now. Dogs, bills, all the different things that are going on. But what I'm able to accomplish with Julia to divide and conquer, right? And she has things that she's more effective with, and I have things that the right person to handle is in our partnership is me, right? But the collective far exceeds the individual effort.
100%. It's infinite X. I think if you can burden everything, it's like 1x. The moment you start to share it, you can't even, there's no cap to it. The other side, there is a weakness for me, and there is a weakness on the share it part, which is trust. At some point, you will get your heart broken, right? You will lose a business deal. You will lose friends from it. That is the downside of sharing it. But for me, I'm kind of navigating that. I went to big circle into I'm going John mode circle lately, right? So I like the John mode circle. I think it's just, at least for my personality. I thought I was I want to go help 2 million people. Turns out I only want to help 2 people in this podcast. You know what I mean? And to be quite honest, I feel more fulfilled doing this podcast with less views than talking about weight loss with thousands of views. And I'm continually doing it. I don't even care if there's 80 views on there, right? Because I know what's funny is I'll get texts from dads like, dude, I needed that.
Yeah.
And how cool is that? But to me, that's more fulfilling because they're like, I actually had that conversation right now. How do I tell my son this? And it's really interesting. And here's the thing, Lucas, Rory, if you guys are listening to this, you try some of these things, you share it, you burden it. There's no right way to do it. You're going to get a benefit regardless. Your recipe can be 50-50. And Lucas, yours might be 80-20, but whatever it is, there's no wrong way. But know that what you're enduring, you're going to learn massive lessons from, and you're going to get massive tools from. And I think that's something to be said for me.
Yeah, the idea, when it comes to circle of, trust, relationships, all that, like I'm just a big less is more person. Yeah. I wish that I knew when I was in college or, let's say when I was 30,
yeah,
right? The way that I valued relationships now and the way that I processed the collective power of relationships, because I do think that it makes you much more effective, but it also makes you much more valuable. Like you talked about the amount of people's lives you could touch, right? And so by having these limited number of really powerful relationships where I actually am learning things that are worthwhile, it is making me more likely to share those things with people that may be outside that circle, because I feel like it's so insightful and it's so valuable that that's the type of stuff that I do want to share with folks. Yeah. Even if they may not be like in my inner circle, I want to be able to spread the word on things like that. Right. So from that standpoint, I feel like it can be super worthwhile. I wish I knew that younger.
Yeah.
And to your point, they're gonna navigate things their own way. But if they can extract a couple things from this and try to implement that and utilize it at a younger age, they're gonna be way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I just felt lost. The bigger circles that I had, I always lost. I was in a massive fraternity. I didn't want to hang out with any of them. I was forced to hang out with all of them. Yeah. Turns out I only cared about 2 of them, right? It's like you lose yourself for quite a while. That's the problem for me. And I started to realize that there's different plants. There's plants that need a lot of water, and then there's things like cactus. I'm actually a cactus. I just need a little bit of water, and then I thrive. Yeah. You throw too much water, then I drown, right? And I don't know if Lucas or Rory are going to be the same way, but know that it's okay to have a small circle. And actually, you'll probably help more people if you actually just decide that is how you run. Yeah. I actually feel like I might help more people knowing that I'm just a cactus, dude. And it took me a long time to really realize that, because most of the people that you see that are successful are not invisible. They're prolific. They're very famous. They're everywhere, right? They have books about here and here and here. But I would argue that there's also just enough people that are also invisible that are very successful as well. And I'm like, there's no way. And I'm starting to see that more and more with you and Josh. And I'm like, this is, maybe I'm supposed to be a little bit invisible for me to be successful.
And that's what I think is great. I don't think you're selling out saying that, right? Again, to go back, I always took so much pride in my way's right. Right. And everything's black and white. There's right and wrong, but there is not right and wrong in a lot of instances. And how you go about approaching things and processing things can be all different shades of gray. Right. And you have to find what works for you. But when you step back and watch and share how other people are doing it, I always say hey, you can extract from that. Right. And so there are times you approach things from a different mindset than I do, but I like to listen and observe and learn and process. Yeah. And I may extract something where I go, hey, I'm going to use that. Right. And so to me, that's how you kind of keep pushing a ball down the field and becoming a better person, becoming more effective in different situations, overcoming painful situations, right? Is it doesn't have to just be, this is the way we're doing it, Rory's way is the right way, Lucas's way is the right way. It's a combination.
So good. Okay, so let's get to the third chapter,
Sure.
which is going to be the more exciting part. How can we architect these little pain points as parents? Because we are already architecting it. How are you doing that so they can experience these different ways of pain?
Yeah, it for me, it just got to start with communication,
Okay.
right? And so when you're able to watch them go through things, you can either act in real time,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of file it, right,
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, we're going to go back to that later. Sometimes the heat of the moment's not the right time.
Right.
Right. I was trying to say something to Mason during the game the other day, and he just happened to give up a goal, and he wasn't in the mindset to hear what I was telling him.
Yeah.
After the game, we had a really productive conversation about it.
Yeah.
Right. But I spoke up, and it wasn't the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think making sure that the communication is occurring where both sides are able to participate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also teaching them the importance of listening,
Wow.
right? Just because
Yeah.
you're the person going through the pain, or you're the person maybe who has a really big opinion, right? Who about the pain that someone else is going through. Listen.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to them. Ask questions.
Yeah.
Right? Don't just try to force an opinion down their throat, because even though there may be similarities,
Right.
it may not be exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They may have other things going on that you're unaware of, or whatever may be the case. So I always think the more you have two ears and one mouth for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so approach it that way and listen.
Yeah.
And make the person feel like they're a part of that process of overcoming whatever the pain is. Specifically when it's kids. It doesn't matter that you're the adult and they're the kid. What do they think about it?
Mm-hmm.
How do they feel about it?
Yeah. So good. I did something new that I didn't do years ago, especially in business. For the 10 years, I've never done it. I remember you guys were talking about annual budgets. And I was like, you guys do a year long and you know how much you're going to spend? And I was like, I've never done that. I kind of just freestyled it. Now, like early on, I had like a advertising budget, marketing budget, fulfillment budget, whatever, right? Admin budget. I added another thing in my own business, which is Lux's sports budget, like 10%. I'm going to budget 10% of all of the money that I make, and I got to make sure I allocate it, because the best environment for, at least for me, to experience that much pain has always been around sports. If you want to extrapolate the amount of lessons that you're having in life and all of the pain points you're going to experience, I think sports is a massive investment. And I've completely reallocated. Even we're going to Barcelona, which is a big deal for us.
Yeah.
I don't normally spend that much money on myself, let alone Lucas. I was like, all right, do we have it on the 10%? And I hope one day that he realizes that I'm architecting my whole business around him experiencing all of this pain. And I know he's also going to experience all of the fun opportunities, some of the wins that he's experiencing. One thing in particular, I remember asking you, because he was in a club team at one point, and he just kept on losing and losing and losing. The development wasn't there, and I was asked for feedback. I was like, "What do you think you should do?" You know, and he was like, "Well, no, I mean, I would just see if you can where can you go back?" And I went back to rec, and he loved it again. So I'm facilitating this pain, and then now we're going back to club at some point, because now he's excelling again. So I'm throttling his experience over time. And one of the biggest ways I simulate this pain for him is sports. And the hard part is experiencing that pain with him, and then learning how to navigate how to do all of these. When is it okay to share? Because just like you, like when he's in his tantrums, I actually don't even talk to him. I just let him just run it. Unless he's like hitting other people or something, then I'll stop it. But I know he's in these massive pain points, and I just wait until he's ready to share it.
Which is super smart, right? Like we're in a world of information overload right now, right? You can find videos and opinions on everything and anything, right? But there's a lot of good things out there too, right? There's a lot of folks who are sharing their stories about what they've done with their kids playing sports and,
Mhm.
the club and rec and that whole journey, right?
Yeah.
Which is complicated and unique to every kid and every family. But when I look at some of the things that I'm able to learn on there
Mhm.
and implement, you can tap into some good stuff. And it's like getting a crash course, right? Even all the AI stuff that's going on now, like you can extract a lot of information really, really quickly. Where like
Yeah.
when we were kids, that wasn't available to us, right?
You
Obviously,
have to do the tape and you have to record it back and see
right.
Allen Iverson's crossover.
So from that standpoint, I love the fact that you can learn so much so quickly and implement it with them, right? And
Mhm.
one thing that I think um, you're doing that is right is, you mentioned the Barcelona trip, and that's an experience, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm a firm believer in is at the end of the day, when our kids grow up, they're going to remember the experiences.
Mhm.
That's what's going to matter to them. They're going to remember family trips and all the joys and the pain of
Yeah.
traveling for like, hey, is that going to be, it's exciting,
Yeah.
right? It's going to be exciting taking
Yeah.
that flight, getting from Vegas to Barcelona. Probably
Mhm.
going to be a little painful. Sleep's going to be off a little bit,
Yeah.
going to experience jet lag, right? Like, so
Yeah.
there's both sides of the equation there. And so that is something that he'll always remember,
Mm.
right? And soccer being such an important part of that, and sports, we're cut from the same cloth that way. Sports is just, learning opportunity after learning opportunity. And one thing that we did with Mason from a young age that I think was really valuable and is a little bit different
Mhm.
today is we exposed him to a lot of different sports
Yeah.
at a very young age. And we did not force feed him any
Yeah.
one particular sport. We didn't commit
Yeah.
too early. He plays soccer and flag football and basketball and swimming and tennis. And
Yeah.
one thing that you will identify with those five things is two of them are individual sports,
Right.
right? Tennis and swimming. He's out there by himself,
Yeah.
right? Or he's in the pool by himself, and he can only rely on himself. And
Mm.
three of them are team sports, and that
Yeah.
mix has proven very, very valuable because there's different pain that you experience as
Mm.
part of a team.
Yeah.
Maybe you let your team down, maybe your team let you down,
Yeah.
right? And when you're out there battling on the tennis court by yourself, there's no one to help.
Right.
You
Looking
have
back,
you have
yeah.
to overcome it yourself, right? That's the individual side of
Yeah.
of of overcoming pain. So I'm just such a huge sports guy, just like you.
Yeah.
Like I love them being able to utilize that as the vehicle to experience
Mhm.
highs and lows and learn.
This is where I think I'd need to architect it a little bit better. I need to architect a sport where he's just there by himself. So he's completely accountable to his wins and losses. Because it's really easy to point fingers when you're in a team.
Yeah.
I would wonder, now I'm curious if I could put him on an individual sport, maybe like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
They're rolling with each other. It could be tennis, right? Something one-on-one. I need to do that and then see and just create the contrast. It could be a failed experiment for me, but I think it's worth to see. Maybe I can talk about it afterwards,
Mhm.
right? When he does experience it. But having that contrast, where do you think he thrives the most?
I think Mason is he is able to excel in both of those arenas,
Yeah,
but they are so different.
right,
And so he's a really um, driven kid when he's out there by himself.
right.
But I try to instill in him the power of team sports and the
Right.
value of standing shoulder to shoulder
Yeah.
with your teammates and trying to work together and compete against another team. And the point is no different than like being in the military, right? Like who's
Mhm.
the guy that you want to be in the foxhole with, right? Like, so I always say, hey, maybe you're not at your best today,
Mhm.
but you can tap into
Someone else.
Grayson
Yeah.
and Jaden and
Yeah.
Preston and Ethan and the kids that are out there with you,
Mm.
right? Your teammates and vice versa. And that's the power of it, right?
Wow.
Maybe you are at your best today and they need you,
It's so
right?
fun.
Got to pick them
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and go. So that balance, um, I love team sports and I love
Yeah.
watching them play team sports. Yeah.
Yeah. What's funny is I like training by myself when no one's around, but I don't like playing sports by myself. Yeah, like I've done the individual sports, I've done the
Yeah.
boxing, I've done the MMA, I've done the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm like, I can't do it. Even when I win, there's no like, so what, I get another belt,
Yeah.
right? But something with team sports is special to me, and primarily because I think you're called to it at some point. You're there, like I love helping people. Not a lot of people, a decent amount of
Mhm.
people. Whether it's like them experiencing their first goal, or it can be their first loss. That's exciting for me too because a lot of those losses are foundations of some of your greatest wins. So I get excited about that, right? Um, but I think I don't know what he's going to be quite playing just yet. So I do need to have him experience some of those things because maybe it is a solo sport. Maybe then we never know, right? So, man, is there anything else that you wanted to add on that?
No, you know what's funny is like with Max, it's different.
Yeah,
Max loves team sports. You want to know why? He's so happy for his teammates' success.
so special. Yeah,
He is so genuinely excited for others to be successful on his team. He wants to
yeah,
win.
yeah,
He's a scoreboard watcher, like you can't imagine
yeah,
at 7 years old, but he is genuinely excited. And
yeah,
that's such a rare trait for a kid his age.
yeah,
It just really doesn't happen because it's pure.
yeah,
And kids that age, like let's just say he's playing basketball, their natural reaction every time they get the ball, they just want to shoot the ball, right?
Right.
It's like that's just the way it is when you're playing sports that young. But with him, we'll leave a game and he's like, "Dad,
yeah,
did you see that so and so did this and Jacob hit that great shot?"
right.
And on
Yeah,
and on. And I'm going, man, he's just rattling off
yeah,
all the victories of his
yeah,
teammates. And so he's pulling that excitement. And he's the first kid when somebody falls down and gets hurt, he's over there because he wants to
helping him
help them
out.
up.
Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
Yeah, I brought my son in to go watch the game. Turns out Max is watching my game more than others. He'll come up and be like, "I saw you make that shot." Like, Lucas, just see my shot? He's like, "No, I'm playing with Mason." I was like, "Dang it,
Right.
Max." Right? So Max is watching it more, and I think that, again, it's something special about that. Like, where do you put him in? I mean, does he have individual sports? Does he enjoy that too, or what? Where's Max at?
He does. He does enjoy, like he does swimming as well, and
Mm,
we'll play. Like he'll do a little with the pickleball and stuff. And he never really got into tennis like Mason. He definitely
hmm
is more plays flag football. He's a big team sport guy. He loves the camaraderie of it and
Yeah,
and being out there. So it's he's certainly on that side of the spectrum. He's a social guy, right?
yeah.
So anything with a group of
Yeah.
people, he's all in when it comes to that.
I think so he's just naturally gonna probably thrive in that type of environment. I think joy has to be an element to it too, for me, knowing that, because I did have him in other sports like baseball. He'll hit a home run, but actually he didn't quite really, like, he wasn't ecstatic about it.
Yeah.
But then when he first made that goal and everyone was yelling with him, I think that's what really set the tone for him, right? And I think you want to try to see that as much as you can. So I'm really gonna be pushing him to do a solo sport just to see what happens.
Yeah, worthwhile exercise. I also think like when it comes to sports, our soccer team is interesting, right? We're
Yeah,
we're clearly a group of people who enjoy being around each other,
right.
but we have progressed, right?
Yeah, we're
over
getting wins
over the
now.
season, right?
Yeah.
As the seasons have gone on, we've been more and more competitive.
Hmm.
But we came out of the gate. It was tough, right? We were getting blown out. We were new. These
Yeah.
teams have played together forever, and
Hmm.
and they're used to each other. But one thing that I think really separates our team
Yeah.
and the whole group feeds off of is that our kids are a part of it.
Yeah.
And whether it's Rodrigo or somebody else on our team who doesn't have kids,
Hmm.
they enjoy that aspect of the kids being there and being active and supporting us and playing together on the side and knowing what's going on in the game and
Right.
just being excited to be there. So to me, that's like laying the groundwork of what's really special about team sports,
Yeah.
and even extending it beyond that.
Yeah. I hope the team sports at least will get them to experience all of these things.
Yeah.
When to share it, when to hide it, when to burden it. And Lucas and Rory, if you guys at a painful season in your life, know that some of the pain will be good. Some of the pain will hurt a lot, and you might not know what to do with it. I hope you can come talk to your dad about it if you don't know. And sometimes I'll force you to burden it, because I know some of the pain that you are going to experience will help you fight the dragon that you'll inevitably fight. I can't fight every pain for you, and it's painful just for me to say that because I want you to. I want to just take that pain away from you, but know that I'm doing it on purpose. And you might hate me for it for the moment. I hope you realize that at some point that Dad did this on purpose so I can fight this other pain that is way harder than it is. And there are going to be some pain that I hope you don't burden, that you can come to share it with me, because some of the pain that I burdened in life, whether it's financial or relational, it took me out, and I hope you guys don't experience that, because it's a painful one. You'll lose a lot of people from those experiences. And guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this particular lesson, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.